How's it going, guys? And welcome back to another episode of Trailmakers Creations by ThatDomGuy. Happy Halloween to everyone. I hope everyone stays safe tonight. Hope you get yourselves big bags o' candy. Alright, first creation we're going to be taking a look at here is the hover lobster. It's a jet ski. Someone asked me in the comments to try and use the skis on water to see what I could come up with, and this is what I came up with. Definitely looks like a lobster. It's got double sets of skis on the front there. When we jump in, there's a hover pad in the back, single hover pad that lets you hover around on land. When we hit S, we pull back. You'll see the front skis will angle forward a bit. They stay locked like that. Spacebar gives us our thrust. That's as well for our water propellers as well as our mini thrusters for being on land. We don't have that great a control on land, as you can see. That single hover in the back and our skis in the front. So we'll push down a little bit on the front to try and get those skis to make contact. Use that for our steering and get over to the water. So basically what this does is that hover pad automatically kicks in once you're above water level. We're going to get high centered here. And then it turns off once we're in the water. So below zero. So we can go into the water here. And as you can see, we take off much faster in the water. Got 130 clicks. Hover pad there turns off. And we are in ski mode. So it's like a jet ski. You can go under the water and you will get thrown out of your seat. As you can see, it's just the normal seat. So if we turn too sharp as well, we can wind up in the drink. That's okay, it floats like a normal jet ski should. We can just come back here, jump back in, and away we go. So that single hover is for basically coming up on the land like this. So you can zip over islands. Shallow ones anyways. And continue right on into the water. So that's the lobster. Pretty obvious when how easy to come up with a name for that one, eh? And look very much like a lobster. So those skis actually do work pretty well on water. They do have some decent resistance. They will actually lift the front end out of the water. Those pontoons that are on the front there are basically to stop dropping into the water when we turn too sharp. Oh, okay. Too deep. We went too deep that time, man. So yeah, we just got some suspension to absorb a little bit of the impact from the water in the front there. And a straight line of pontoons with some aquatic thrusters underneath. And that is about it. Alright, let's take a look at our next build. Alright, our next build here is a Vtol Transport, and I was using a prototype system trying to use, as you can see on the side here, the mini thrusters and angle sensors or speed sensors in combination with some hinges to try and use that as a stabilizing system. I call it a spider. There's 8 mini thrusters and 8 speed sensors on the, as you can see, the seat is underneath in the middle there. We've got our helicopter engine spinning for stabilization at maximum 10. On 2 axes to try and keep it stable, and then rather than using angle sensors, I was just trying to use this little spider setup of mini thrusters and speed sensors to see if I could get it to stabilize itself. So we'll jump in here, and we also have our wings as our landing gear, as you can see. So spacebar just takes us up. You can see those little angle thrusters there, speed sensors. Moving those mini thrusters around, little slight movements to the left and to the right. Trying to keep us level. And number 1 rotates our thrusters forward. And then we have just normal WASD, not even W and S, A and D steering. And then seat control basically because we are centered in the seat underneath in the middle there. And then we've got some basic controls here with just flight. Nothing super fancy with this other than the landing gear is the actual wings itself. So we can zip along like this. We can hit number 1 to rotate our engines. Come in for a nice smooth landing here at the landing spot. Transporting our goodies. Oh, right on, and all the wings didn't fall off. Normally they all pop off like there was a sensor in there on detachable blocks. So yeah, that's just called a Vtol Transport. I was just experimenting, as I tend to do. So let's fly this guy over to the beach over here. We're going to attempt to land him right here on the beach. Oh, we're going to crash, I know it. Boom! Just like that. We're going to leave him right there in the water. And we're going to head over to this spawn point over here. We're going to bring in our next build. So this incomplete build, as you can tell by the lack of color and the lack of incompleteness, or the lack of completeness, I should say. These are swarm bombs. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of these little suckers in there. There's a dozen of them. And there's no thrusters or anything. They actually use the mini propellers to all pop out and swarm to their enemy. So we're going to use that target down there. Mr. Boat we left in the water there, Mr. Vtol Transport. Okay, so I'm going to try and judge our distance here from about here. I'm going to hit number 1. Pops open, they angle, and they all pop out randomly like that, and then it automatically closes. And there's no streaks or noise or anything, right? That's what makes it hard to hear. So there they go, let's see. Nowhere near. Alright, we see the transport down there in the water. We hit number 1. Now we go and see what happens to Mr. Transport down there in the water. He is totally safe. Mr. Transport, say hello to my little friends, man. Say hello to the swarm. Let's go fly over here and stand on this rock. Oh, so close. It's the one. Fire. Hope this is the one. Oh, we got a little piece of him. We got a little piece of him. He's tipping. He ain't going nowhere now. We took off one of his thrusters. But those are the swarm bombs. So if we look real close here, we can see that it's just a couple sticks of dynamite with a small propeller and an XOR gate that keeps the propeller going. And as soon as we hit number 1, they'll angle, the propellers turn on, and they fire. And they're just balanced properly that they actually go flying in an arc and then come down in a stream like that. Boom, 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 boom. So super simple. Doesn't require any kind of fins or anything like that because the propellers are strong enough to just pull them out into an arc. I thought that was a great idea. But you can see how simple these are, right? Just a couple angle pieces to keep them aerodynamic so they fly a little further. And then the offset timing on the detachable blocks so that they all separate separately and all fly in like a swarm. So if you could like double the size of this, I doubt you could, but if you could probably add like another maybe 10 more of these things, you could have a pretty big swarm. I was trying to make the smallest projectiles possible that would actually carry themselves through the air. Alright, so this awesome looking 6x6 is an off-road water 6x6. So this is not meant for land. As you can see, it's got square wheels, does not roll very well on land at all. Chunk, 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 chunk. Oh, I'm surprised we didn't actually do any damage. This is what it's designed for. This is for in the water. This is a 6x6 off-road water truck, I guess you could call it. Racer. Driver. Does about 170k. You can see we've got some hover pads underneath the back end there, keeping us above the water. And then we've got our servos, the fast servos or the high-speed servos as our axles for our wheels, which are made out of flotation buoys, pontoons, and a bunch of square pieces again just to keep our aerodynamics so that our wheels spin fast enough. So once we start spinning, holding space of course, we have a whole line of mini thrusters across the top there that move us forward. Once we're going fast enough forward, then our hover pads lift us out of the water. And away we go. We got our other smaller thrusters underneath that don't engage until we're actually out of the water enough. So with this thing we can actually turn fairly sharply without going under. You can pull back to hold back. Keep the nose up just a little bit more. I thought this would be a fun build for racing around the islands. Racing on water. Driving on water. Always fun to try and build things to drive on water. Especially with any kind of speed. A lot of the times you'll get resistance. Sometimes this thing will actually take off in the air too. Okay, let's see if we can get it to fly. Oh, Oh, it doesn't like to fly. Oh, oh, ouch. Hey, there goes a wheel. I just lost a wheel. Hey, man. So yeah, pretty basic controls. Just A and D for steering and space for your power. And away you go. Gotta love them chrome hubs on there too, eh? The wheels actually look pretty cool. And we got that fin in the back there, stabilizing. We got some helicopter engines for stabilization, of course. All the stabilization we can get our hands on. Let's see if we try and drive over this island. It's probably going to fall apart. Oh, no. Oh, over the bar, over the bar. No, no, into the ground and smash, crash, bang, boom. I broke it. I broke it. So yeah, off-road, water 6x6. I'll be uploading that to the shop as well. Have a look-see. Or maybe it's inspired you to build something similar yourself. Alright, let's take a look at our next build. Alright, so this strange-looking device is actually a giant quadcopter. This is called the Mega Drone. So you can see all the thrusters there underneath in that big cluster in the middle. Check out these bizarre propellers. We have helicopter engines. Bonkers, being a cat. Helicopter engines with an offset helicopter engine connected to it spinning in the opposite direction. So that counters the torque of that individual or that specific helicopter engine that's spinning. It's the same on the top and the bottom. And then I've got these inverted hover pads on here just for looks. I was hoping they would give some kind of bonus effect. Again, always testing new things, trying to break the physics in this game, or actually see what the physics are, what they can do. And using the wing pieces instead of blades. And then our seat way up here, so we can jump in here. We can hit number 1. And we are spinning. We have helicopter engines for our controls. Seems how we don't have any control surfaces really. And then space for our thrust. So we have a Mega Drone quadcopter. It's not armed. There's no weapons on it. I'm sure you could put some weapons on there. Lots of room, as long as you keep it balanced. As you can see, you can fly at about 170. Keep yourself going straight. I don't think you can fly through the tunnel with this sucker. Might be a little big. Oh, 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 oh. Or it might be piss poor piloting. Wow, pretty easy, eh? Well, that's a cool sound in here, eh? Alright, we're out of here. So landing with this thing's pretty easy as well. Just turn your engines off. And you fall super slow, as you can see. As long as you keep yourself level, you'll fall perfectly for a landing. Angle yourself forward. Come dropping down. Angle yourself back. It's almost like having thrusters. They're the perfect size and weight. Look at that. Beautiful landing. Beautiful landing. Nailed it. So that is the Mega Drone. It's not really a drone, but it looks like a drone. Like it could be a drone. Oversized drone. Mega quadcopter. So that's a pretty basic build, but it was fun to build. Again, keeping your thrust nice and low, in line with where your lift is in your propellers themselves. So you can do a donut? Oh yeah, full on. Full on dronage. Come on, get out of the water, get out of there. Get out of there. Yeah, that was close. You know what I mean, Mark? Alright, let's take a look at our final build of the video. This is the Dragon Chopper. As you can see, very much looking like a dragon. He's got feet for landing gear. It's fairly simple as well. It's just some blocks in specific order. We got some hinges in there for the body, and you'll see how those work. We've got our helicopter engines, again, spinning in the body for stabilization, which is always good for choppers if you're trying to keep yourself flying in the air and you want to be in one spot. And then we got the head with a big cannon on it here. That's what the seat is as well. And some hinges on the propellers so that we can angle them forwards or backwards. And we got little propellers up there on the top, the big propellers, just because I needed a wee bit more lift and I wanted to use propellers. So I just put a couple little ones on there, and they work just fine. just fine. So we can jump in here, spacebar, and left shift is the cannon. So WASD for controls, really simple controls. We'll hit space, that'll lift us off. W is our forward thrust. So when we hit W, you'll see actually his body stretches out. And then we just use a combination of W and the spacebar to fly where we need to go. We can see he's all stretched out like this when we're flying and holding space and W. And I can just hold space and he'll come back this way, or we can squish him up a little bit like this to fly backwards as we angle our blades backwards. And we can crash into the ground just like that. See? Drag him down. So usually when you spawn him in, you want to give him a little bit of juice. Just because his feet are a little bouncy because of the suspension. But as you can see, it's pretty easy to keep him in the air. Right? Just tapping that space bar. Left shift gives us our cannon. We have a little bit of movement in the head and in the tail. So we can choose whether or not to use our propellers with our space bar, because he is fairly stable. Can actually shoot things. I thought that wasn't too bad. A couple of small wings in the back there to help keep the tail up, because the head always wanted to fly upwards, so we put those on there just to give the tail a little bit of lift. And then we can control our lift and forward with W and spacebar. So that was a fun build too. Try and make something that look like a dragon, that fly like a dragon, but it's just using helicopters. So now see, the next thing would be to build a slightly bigger version of this and try and have 4 helicopter blades, 4 sets of blades like this on it, so you could have like bigger wings that you could actually be flying with. Might actually be able to have some sort of flapping action in the wings too a little bit. Oh, 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 oh. Landing this thing's tough. He's kind of narrow. He's a wee bit skinny. Skinny dragon. Nailed it. Perfect. Alright, we're going to leave that one there, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit that like button and check out some of this stuff on the end screen. We'll see you guys in the next one. Ciao.